Hi, I want to talk to you about being a multiplier. And I've prepared this video today to help you with some tips on how to successfully implement multiplication in your organization. And one of the reasons I really am excited about this topic is if you really embrace these principles I'm going to talk to you about today, you will actually foster an environment or amplify your environment, a culture of growth. And I've noticed throughout my career that a culture of growth is so critical to mission, vision, excitement, this passion among leadership. And I know that if you take these tips, implement them in your organization, you will foster a culture of growth. So let's get into it. If these 5 tips to being a multiplier throughout my career, I wanted to walk you through some examples, kind of encourage you what steps I would take along each of those journeys, and these 5 tips and how to embrace them in your organization. And we've also will create some resources that you can take away, an infographic around this, and our courses in teaching multiplication. And each step itself has some intentionality. But let's go ahead and break those down for you today. The first one, everything is built on this. A house that's not on a firm foundation can't stand, it's going to crumble. And so what is the first one? It's you. Actually, more importantly, it's your mindset around multiplication. The reality is this: if you don't see the importance of building up the next generation of leaders, then all of this discussion will be for naught. So my first tip is mindset. How do you have a mindset of multiplication? Well, it starts out with this absolute commitment, whether it's through this training or this teaching that opens up to you. But the reality that you would see others, you would see leaders, young leaders who are going to lead today and embrace the opportunity for tomorrow. So how do you invest in today's leaders and helping them for tomorrow's opportunities? Well, that all starts with mindset. You've got to decide you want a multiplying heart and an attitude and an organization of growth. In order to do that, you need to be building up leaders. So first, the idea of growing something bigger than you, it's something that has organizational reach beyond your leadership capacity. The whole reason we created Beyond Your Shadow is to have this personal belief in growing an organization that goes beyond your shadow and it's bigger than you. If you got to believe that, because everything else is really hard and it takes intentionality and work. But if you don't have that firm foundation of the belief, we're not going to get there. So what's my first part of that mindset? What are you doing to have actual leadership development, continuing to improve your skills as a leader? See, I think that each of us have certain skills and gifts. We've been given those. Some of those gifts and skills might allow for our leadership abilities to expand a little faster or more naturally given our gifting. But each of us have the ability to lead. Each of us have the ability to add to our leadership skills. It's something you can improve. It's not something you automatically just have. And here's the beauty of it. That's true in building into other people. They don't all have those skills. Look back when you were at their stage of it. They don't all have that, but there's the intentionality of wanting to invest in it. So really, when you start emphasizing your ongoing growth and skills, you'll start to think about others on your team and wanting to emphasize growth and skills in their leadership, in their growth. And so how do you foster an environment of growth? Well, I think it starts with you doing it and then having an attitude to invest in others for their growth. And then finally, as a mindset of being a multiplier, you have to have a desire to want to mentor others in improving and helping them with their leadership. See, I believe in a big word, legacy. And legacy, it can be defined depending on who you ask about this idea of giving down resources to a next generation. I believe that as a mentor, legacy is a big word. And my job as a mentor is to give my time, my talents, and all my resources in such a way to my mentee that he or she will blow past me in my leadership abilities. Do you mentor people that way? Or do you actually think about the tactical delegation of your work to someone else? So mindset's a big deal. And that's why I spend so much time on it today, to really drive that point home. The next one is a tip after mindsets first. For you got to work on it and then have this attitude of wanting to be a multiplier, a mentor. 2, you start to identify people in and outside of your organization. How do you spot these potential leaders that you can invest in? So you identify them. And then more importantly, you invite them. You invite them into this journey. How do you do that? Well, it starts with this process of thinking about how do you identify the potential leaders. I believe in a matrix for organizational hiring as well as for development. It's equipping those who have the right attitude, effort, and ability. That doesn't mean you have to take the most experienced. I'll take someone with less experience and a better attitude and a willingness to put in the effort always 9 or even 10 times out of 10 over someone who's aptitude. I'll take attitude over aptitude all the time. Now, we can train in the aptitude, but the attitude's a tough one. And so really your culture and the attitude of your culture is going to decide some of the leadership leash, the length of the leash you'll give somebody in growth. So that's super important. And I would look for the traits that fit within your organization and start seeing people, whether they're in your organization or not. And that really actually has completely defined the way we hire in our organization through those values I just discussed, through the way we look at bringing in future leaders and having an attitude of investing in them. So what's the result of that? This idea of spotting, identifying, and then ultimately inviting in people to embrace bigger opportunities in leadership. We have depth. An organization key to growth, to success, to ongoing success, the success that looks like legacy, something beyond you, is all about the depth of the leadership team. And so multiplication perfectly completes an organization's ecosystem of growth. It's all about depth in leadership and having this intentional attitude of investing in your people is what's ultimately going to lead to the largest growth ever and sustainable growth within an organization, healthy, that grows beyond your shadow. But there's a tricky part to this, identifying people and how they can embrace growing up in leadership on your team. And that's this invitation from you, from the leadership team, that we see something you have, that you can actually be a significant leader. You have the attributes. We see 70% of what you have, you bring to the table, and we're going to help give you this room of 30% and our talent, our time, and our resources to help you embrace a big opportunity of lead. So where does it start? It starts with that invitation. And then once you've invited them in, what are you inviting them into? Think apprenticeship. This third one is like the investment. What are you investing in? You need the first part, you believe in being a multiplier and you are a multiplier. And 2, this idea that you have identified people that can lead well within your organization and you invite them into a bigger story, this epic journey to leadership. And so then the real fun, hard part starts, and it's the investment of your time, your talent, and your resources to equip tomorrow's leader, today's person for tomorrow's opportunities. Big deal. And so how do you do that? You dedicate resources to this. Think, like I was saying earlier, this apprenticeship model. You're coming along and inviting someone in to say, hey, watch what I do, learn from me. And as we move along in the investment, you're going to start doing it with me so that you can get the fingernails dirty. You can get dirt inside those fingernails. This idea of elbow grease in learning the intuition and the at-bats necessary to build wisdom and leadership. Such a big deal to get at-bats, to have practice making decisions that aren't good ones so that you know and can embrace the wisdom of making better decisions. So the resource dedication and the time necessary to support your leadership development of your team is a big deal. And so how does that go? You'll start to see over time as you go from a watch me do it to do it with me. You'll see this transition taking place where you are handing off authority. You are allowing her to excel. You're allowing him to excel in this attitude of leadership, that you are expanding authority within the organization. And that 70% rule is such a big deal in how we build up. We give room for growth. Leaders, You're a mentor. Mentors inspire. They equip, they encourage, but they also criticize. So not every decision is going to be made in such a way that it's right. It requires the investment and the risk of time in order to help build up a culture of multiplication that allows to successful handoff of leadership. And that leads me to the fourth point. When you've really invested in this idea of come watch me do it, let's do it together. The next piece naturally is promote, activate. So, okay, you've gotten this far. Now I'm going to invite you into a bigger part of the story. I'm going to promote you into it's time for you to do it and me to watch you. This is hard. There's risk here because it's risk of significance. It's risk of someone else is going to be seen and recognized at the top of the organization. The first part of this that I recommend is handing off some authority without a title. I don't want to overwhelm people. I've in the past have been guilty of giving out a title before authority and experience. So what I've learned is invite someone in, allow them from their role or their position to have some more authority, make some more decisions under the cover of your authority so they have room to grow. I think about my friend Jeff and his mentor Bob in their organization. Bob said to Jeff, it's time for you to take over the mantle of authority, but I want you to go make a bunch of changes needed that you see in the organization, but under the cover of my authority. I firmly believe this allowed for a successful transition of handing off and investing into the handoff. And so the last part of that promotion is the formal handoff, where there's literally a title handoff. In one of our organizations, I handed off the full authority to our COO of running the business. She ran it for, definitely 18 months before she was handed the formal title as the CEO of the company. Well-earned, highly engaged leader in our company. But no one thinks about or talks about the 5 and 6 years of investment before that. See, I think what's tricky in the activation and the promotion of handoff that is missed a little bit in this process is it takes time. That's why I want you to start this now. Because if you have a culture of this, you'll start to see that it really does build this growth exponential within your company. And it leads me to my last point, expand. You start to know that mindset, this identity and invite, the investing in your leaders, and then this idea of the handoff or the promotion starts to take effect when your leaders are doing the same thing. Can you have an expansion mindset where a multiplied leader is multiplying more leaders? And you start noticing your leaders filling in organizational gaps, investing in the next rung of leadership. This is the 5-point that is got to be practiced over and over within your organization. So here's what I want to leave you with. You got to believe in the fact of wanting to be a multiplier. If you haven't done this before, now is the time to start because it takes time to build this within your organization. See, the funny thing is I don't think you've set out to work in it forever. I think you know that in order to hand it off well, what's the reason why you want to hand it off? Maybe because bigger things can be accomplished. Maybe it's because you want to recognize a payment for the risk of where you've gotten the organization to and recognize an exit. Well, I will tell you this, the most valuable companies are the ones that have expanded leadership. And so how do you start that? You start it right now. It's not too late. You might be behind the curve of when you could have started it sooner, but the best time to fix that problem is right now. So start to identify people within your organization. Maybe you might have to consider bringing people in and invite them in to this journey of growing up under your leadership, mentorship of him or her into a bigger role. And then, gosh darn it, it doesn't stop there. You got to invest the time. And then after that time of investment, you must hand it off. Let the promotion happen because that organization will grow beyond your shadow and it will be exciting and vibrant. And then the honor of growing up leaders, the humility necessary first in order to recognize the honor and privilege of investing in today's leaders for tomorrow's opportunity is a big deal. And then you really get the payoff when you see it happening again. It's cycling through and it's expanding and this culture of growth is deepening within your organization. And I would say, when you're there, I would graduate you and call you a multiplier. And that is such a compliment. Today, I'm recognized as a multiplier, and we are so dedicated to this concept, to the idea of legacy. Many businesses break for lack of leadership depth, and we really want that to change. One, because we know you can do it. Two, because with the right inspiration, with the right encouragement, with the right resources, I am confident that organizations could really leave a legacy in all the people they help with these amazing products and services that are out there. So take advantage of this stuff. We really want to help you. We look forward to you becoming a multiplier.